Hey everyone, I am back live on Facebook, and today I'm actually going to be talking about traveling with a firearm, legal statutes that you need to be aware of, whether you're flying, whether you are driving, and I'm going to show you what gun that I chose to take on this trip with me, and also what accessories I decided to bring as well. So if you didn't know, I'm actually in Las Vegas, Nevada right now, and why I'm here is I'm here for the 2016 Licensing Expo. If you're unfamiliar what licensing is, it's kind of hard to explain in a short sentence, but it's basically where you can partner with other brands and other companies and just do a lot of collaborative efforts and things like that. Well, anyway, I'll talk more about that a little bit later, but I'm here for the rest of the week, and it's been pretty busy while I've been out here. Before I get into scheduled topics, just want to say thank you guys for waiting. I know originally I said I was going to be on here at 6:30, and I didn't leave the actual convention center until around that time, so I knew I was going to be cutting it close and I wouldn't make 6:30. So I tried to update everyone and let you guys know that I'd be coming in around 7. So hope you didn't wait that long. I know I didn't go live until 5 minutes after my scheduled time, so I appreciate you guys sticking around. All right, but anyway, I do want to mention, what's kind of interesting that I've noticed, being that this is my first trade show I've attended, not in the firearms industry. Every other trade show I've attended in the past 6 years has been either SHOT Show, U.S. Concealed Carry Association show, or outdoor show, or something related to firearms. And this is actually the first one that's not. And it's kind of interesting how when I'm approaching people and approaching companies and meeting people in the media industry, it's what I found is when I tell them what I do, a firearms instructor, I get two very different reactions. Either the person is very excited and we talk about guns, which happened, a lot, I should say. But I also get kind of the reaction of, I can tell that the person doesn't really support guns. And I actually got into a very interesting conversation with a guy in the media industry last night about it. And, what I told him was, well, if we can just listen to each other and hear each other out, it's a start to a conversation, which I think right now, especially in the light of recent events where everyone has a very emotional stance when it comes to the issue of guns, I think that having the ability to talk rationally and talk intelligently with maybe someone who doesn't understand, and we get more into the side of, well, since I'm in this industry, I'd like to educate other people just about certain matters that they might not have thought of, because unfortunately the media twists things and gets things wrong a lot of the time. But I'll have to go more into that a little bit later, because I've had a very interesting week. And okay, my service here at this hotel isn't the best. I see that I cut out already, so sorry if it cuts in and out. If it continues to do that, I'll try to figure out if I can jump on my hotspot on my phone or something. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the topics. And I can see that a couple of you guys are already watching and commenting, so thank you for those of you that are here. Okay, so let's talk about traveling. Now, I flew out here, obviously, from South Carolina to Nevada. It's a very long drive, so I decided to fly. I didn't have a lot of time to be on the road. But for anyone out there, as far as traveling with a firearm and you are driving, regardless of whether you have a permit, there is a federal law that allows a lawful person to transport a firearm across state lines, and this is U.S. Code 926A. And what it says is that as long as you're a lawful person and you're transporting a firearm across, you can transport a firearm in your car, provided that the gun remains unloaded, completely separated from ammunition, and also secured so it's not directly accessible from the passenger compartment of the vehicle, which excludes the glove box or the console. So it does have to be in a locked compartment. Typically that means because the glove box or console isn't included in the statute, it has to be either locked up in the trunk, or if you have a vehicle that does not have a trunk, such as an SUV, hatchback type of vehicle, it has to be in some type of case that has an actual fastener on it, physically locked, transported in the rearmost compartment of that specific type of vehicle. The only other thing to kind of consider when you're going about this route as well is that there are some states that have certain types of guns or certain brands and models of guns that are banned in certain states. For example, California has a banned list. Certain firearms are illegal in the state of California. I want to say most of mine are, not most of them, but the majority, a lot of them are. I'll say that. Also, there are certain magazines that, depending on what the capacity, how many rounds they hold, they're also banned in certain states. I'll give you another example. In the state of New York, magazines have to have, I believe it's 7 or 10 rounds. I might be getting my states confused, but let's say it's 7 rounds. You can't have a magazine with more than 7 rounds in it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can just take, let's say if I had a magazine that held 15 rounds, I can't just reduce the round count in that specific magazine. Just having the 15-round magazine that has that capacity by itself is considered unlawful in that state, for example. So something to consider, that when you're transporting a firearm across state lines, you have to be familiar with that particular state if they have any restrictions when it comes to firearms, and also certain magazines with certain capacities. So that's a big thing right there. I will say that as far as that's concerned, also when driving, where I live in the Southeast, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, it's pretty common for people to have guns, and the gun laws by the state, are not as strict as the federal laws. For example, in South Carolina, anyone who's lawful can have a handgun loaded in their vehicle, provided it remains inside the glove box, center console, or trunk. So that is completely different from the federal law, which states it has to be unloaded, secured in the trunk. So in this case, in state where the states are concerned, the state law takes precedence in regards to the regulating of firearms as far as transporting them inside your vehicle. In some states, vehicles, when occupied, are considered in the same classification as your residence would be. So it would just be like you being inside your house. Again, not every state recognizes an occupied vehicle as similar to the statute of you being in your residence. So some states, for example, Maryland, you can't have a gun in your car if you don't have a permit, which good luck getting one, even for residents there, it's very hard to obtain a permit. And this, I'll have to get back into the whole permit issue later, because that's going to take too long. But anyway, that's just something to consider. I know if you were to go to New York state laws and read about, even just the federal law, what you'll find is that you may be in compliance with the federal law, which says the gun's unloaded inside your trunk, completely separate from ammunition, and it's locked. But because the state law is stricter than the federal law, even though you might be in compliance with the federal law, you'll find yourself still in violation of the state law, which some law enforcement officers, especially when it comes to the state police or just a law enforcement department in that state, they don't enforce federal laws, they enforce state laws. So this is where you can get into some trouble when you're traveling through states that have very strict gun laws. And primarily we're talking about California, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Colorado is getting pretty strict when it comes to firearms as well. But another thing that I wanted to mention, there's just so much to talk about when it comes to traveling and transporting a firearm, But another thing I want to mention is whether a state is preempted or has preempted laws. And what that means is, I'll give you an example. Where I live in South Carolina, we have state preempted laws. That means whatever the state regulates as far as transferring, possessing, or carrying firearms, the city that I live in cannot come up with local ordinances that would overrule, if you will, state law. Okay, but in states like Pennsylvania, even though Pennsylvania state has a law that allows anyone to openly carry without needing a permit, there are laws there that are not preempted. So that means that the city of Philadelphia and even certain counties can overrule that and say, well, even though state law says this, we're not going to allow persons to carry in this manner. Or even if you have a permit that's recognized in that state, that permit will not be recognized in certain cities or counties in states that do not have that preemptive law state. So that's something else. I wanted to give you guys some websites when it comes to traveling and kind of looking up all this information. And there's a very good website that I go to all the time, and this is it's handgunlaw.us. So www.handgunlaw.us. handgunlaw.us. If you go to that website, it's regulated by, every other week or so, you'll notice that it's updated. And that's something where you can go to specifically to look up specific state laws. There's also something else that I can show you that's really cool when traveling. And I have an app on my phone, and I tell all my students this in my classes because I travel a lot. So what I'm doing is I have my other phone in front of me, so I'm going to go ahead and show you this app on my other phone, so you can kind of see what I'm showing you, as far as what they offer. And I can go ahead and do that. So this CCW app, if you can see it there, if I click on it, it has all these things where I can find the current state that I'm in. Okay, I'm allowing them to see my location. And we see here that it tells me, well, I'm in Nevada, so it tells me all the laws that I need to be aware of. States recognizing the Nevada permit, it will tell me that. It also tells me reciprocity, states honored. So I can see that, for example, South Carolina is highlighted in green, so that means that my South Carolina permit allows me to carry in Nevada. Okay, and it tells me all of that stuff. What's also nice is it tells me transport laws, preemption rules, so that's what I just explained, and then restaurants serving alcohol, roadside rest area, state park. It tells me all of these things here. So this is a really good app for those of you that travel and, need to know this stuff, because honestly, we can talk about firearms all day but I want to say that what can get you in trouble is not understanding the legal aspects of it. So make sure you do your research when it comes to ensuring that you're complying with your local laws. So I got a question on Instagram from Robbie, so I'm going to go ahead and answer it because he mentioned, and I hope you're here, Robbie, so you can hear the answer to this. The question was, and let me just take a look at my account here so I don't want to get it wrong, but he asked, let's see, okay, I'm opening up my Instagram right here. Okay, so Robbie says, if you're carrying in a gun-free zone and if the need arises to draw your firearm to prevent another shooting, how much trouble could you get in? I live 2 hours from Orlando, so trying to educate myself as much as possible, which I'm glad you are, Robbie. That's a very good question. And I know that, again, in light of recent events, the whole training and carrying firearms and buying guns right now, it's unfortunately whenever something like this happens, there's always an increase in people wanting that information. Well, it's a good thing, but it's it's bad for the reason obviously why that is. But anyway, Robbie, to answer your question, so when it comes to the legal use of force, a person who does not, for example, if you're in a state that says you have to have a permit to carry, whether it's open or concealed or whatever the case is, if a person is unlawfully carrying and they don't have a permit, if something were to happen, whether it's in defense of yourself or whether it's in defense of others, the problem is, well, okay, what is the prosecutorial or the prosecuting mindset of the state you're in? Because you'll find that maybe the Attorney General will still want to, even though you may have been in a situation where 100% you were defending your life or defending someone else, they can still argue, and it opens up a legal avenue for a prosecutor to say that you were still unlawfully carrying. And if that's the case, then in a civil lawsuit, and no one is exempt, from civil lawsuits, except of course if you are in a state that has castle doctrine, which, again, I'm going to have to come back and explain all these legal statutes because there's so much information in regards to it. But anyway, the problem is now in a civil lawsuit, someone can come back and claim and sue you. Let's say, for example, wrongful death. And the reason, the legal reason and the legal basis for that would be that if you were illegally carrying, you shouldn't have had the ability to inflict or to, not inflict, you shouldn't have had the ability to use the firearm in the first place. And I know it sounds completely nuts, but just from a legal standpoint, that's what it is. I want to mention, by the way, I am not a lawyer, so please don't take to heart any advice, from me being legal, but just giving you my background for those of you that didn't know. I studied pre-law in college, and I also I teach use of force laws in South Carolina as a concealed weapons permit instructor. We are certified to not teach the law, but we explain it and we review it. So I'm very familiar with the subject of use of force laws. It's just I've been doing this for so long. All right. So anyway, I hope that helps, and I hope Robbie, oh, cool, I see you are, okay. So I hope that helped explain or helped answer your question. What I'm gonna do right now is go ahead and show you what gun I am traveling with, why I chose it. I'm also going to show you some accessories and how I was able to travel with a firearm. Okay, so I talked about driving already, and let's talk about flying. So according to the TSA, TSA guidelines, again, as long as you're a lawful person and the firearm is lawful, you can transport a firearm as in your checked baggage. But if you go to TSA's website and look at special items, and firearms and ammunition classify as special items. So what it says is the gun has to be unloaded in a locked case, hard-sided locked case inside your checked luggage, okay? So as far as ammunition is concerned, you're according to TSA guidelines, you're allowed to carry up to 11 pounds of ammunition, and it does have to be in a factory box. Now that's TSA's guidelines, and of course you have to declare it when you go to the gate, and it is inspectable by a TSA agent. According to the airlines now, that might have separate further regulations in regards to how it has to be transported in your luggage. I'll give you an example. TSA guideline says that the ammunition has to be in a factory box. And the magazines, if you had a semi-automatic, they have to be unloaded. However, some airlines will allow you to have the magazines loaded with rounds in it as long as it's separated from the actual gun being inside the case. So it does have to be outside of the case that the gun is in, but some airlines do allow that. So you have to check the TSA guidelines, make sure you're compliant, and then take it a step further and also look up the airlines regulations as far as special items, firearms and ammunition being a special item. Okay, so I flew Delta. I always try to fly Delta. I just love their service and their aircraft and their gear equipment. So I've never had a problem. I want to say Delta is very firearm friendly. I'll mention that. And what I do is I just I come to the gate. I have to go to the actual gate agent, and I tell her or him I'm checking a firearm today. And so what happens is what I did was I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around so you can see my stuff in front of me. Okay, so what I did was I kept it simple, and I just took the factory box for the gun that I carried, and I have two locks, which I use to lock them up here and here. And then I made sure that my luggage that I checked was locked as well. So upon going up to the gate, I had to sign this form here. This is a firearms unloaded sign. The TSA agent that I went to, she did not ask to check or inspect my gun. However, some will, so just expect that. Make sure you have your keys out so you can open it for them if needed. But this gets taped to the box just on top of there. And what I brought with me was actually, and we can see it is unloaded. Okay, you see the chamber's empty, slides locked back. And then I've got my two magazines with it as well. They are both unloaded. So I did bring my, you probably saw this last week if you tuned in, but this is my Sig Sauer P238, chambered in .380. Now, the reason I like this gun is because it's subcompact, and with most stuff that I'll be wearing, I'm easily able to carry it. And what I like also is that it has the, tritium night sights there. So that's nice, because I don't usually have my usual, nightstand gun. If you remember, that was the Glock 19 that had the streamlight attached to it. But one thing I did make sure I brought was a flashlight. This one also happens to have a self-defense face, and this is this is by Surefire. Yep, Surefire. Most of my flashlights are Surefire or Streamlight, and this is called the 6P Defender. So it has a self-defense face, and then this is something that I'll keep, next to the gun, just if I were to put it on the nightstand, for example. And this is only because it's very important that if you were to ever feel the need to use it, of course you want to make sure that you've positively identified, what's going on and things like that. But anyway, that's that. This one also has, like I said, the tritium night sights, which I like as well. And then I also brought my two magazines, which just make it easy for me to choose whether I want to have the shortened one or the extended one. So that's what I brought with me, and it was just came in the case there, very simple. Locked it up and declared it, and it was fine. Okay, like I said, I've never really had any issues traveling with Delta as far as declaring a firearm, so that's what I've got there. So as far as the ammo is concerned, now it has to be a factory box. Okay, so this is just your standard federal ammunition box here, but I'm just showing you that, you know, I did bring, you know, the hollow points, and I've got a couple different types there, but anyway, I just brought one box, and you know, hopefully never going to use it. So one other thing too that I brought, I'll show you some accessories I brought as well. So I brought my Hill People gear bag, which if I was running, you guys know that you know, I use this when doing any outdoor activities, but it has been, it's been like 100, the average temperature out here has been 100, and I want to say over 100 degrees. So it is so hot. I decided that I am not going to be doing any running outside because I've had heat exhaustion one time, and this is a couple years ago, and I just don't want to experience that again. So I'm doing what I can as far as trying to maintain a workout, but running is not going to happen here in Las Vegas. All right, so what I also brought with me was I brought my sticky holster. So I have a couple options. So my sticky holster, and then I also brought several different holsters. Actually, this is just a trigger guard holster, and this, I usually will use this inside my Hill People gear bag. And then I also have this holster, which is just a custom Kydex holster, and then I also have this DeSantis holster, and what I like about this is that it has a place on there where I can put a spare magazine. And this I just like having a couple different options depending on what I'm wearing. I also brought, this is a holster. This is from, the brand is Can Concealment. Sorry, I'm trying to get good lighting here. Okay, so the brand is called Can Concealment, and I like it because I can put the gun on either side. It also has a place on the side where I can put my spare magazine. And this is nice if I don't want to carry an inside the waistband holster like these, you know. And it's pretty cool. It's got the little lace details on the back. I like that. Also, just for self-defense, I brought with me a couple knives. So this is a 511. This is a 511 knife that I brought with me. See that there? And then I've got my Kershaw. This is the Emerson knife here. So you guys have probably seen this. I'm trying to, anyway, I think it's locked. So that's that. So I did bring those too. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and see if you guys have any questions, and let's see here. We've got, oh, I see a couple of you are here, so thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. Hi, Lawrence, Julio, Taylor, Greg, Louise, Saeed, hello. Vernon Kemp, hi, brother, I'm so proud of you too. Hi, Taylor. Thank you, Chris Schneider. As you can see, I did bring my 511 knife, so I wanted to point that out to you. All right. Oh, thanks, DL De Vera. Made it. I'm glad you could. And I see Robbie's here. Kevin, yeah, I know I lost my signal earlier. Hi, Julie. Brian, Aisha, Mark Cruz, Gary Williams, James Flaherty. Oh, I know. So Brian says, DC, don't even come here with a bullet or mag or gun, minimum 1 year in jail. Yes, that's true. It's the crazy laws. Summer, I would love to come to Wisconsin. I actually have a friend who lives in Wisconsin, and I'm going to try to get there sometime, hopefully by the end of the year. So definitely, I think she lives in the Appleton area. And Marsh, if you're watching, I'm talking about you. I want to come visit you. Hi, Michael Odell. Landon's here. Okay, let's see. Great info. Yeah, Robbie, Florida Castle Doctrine. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Hi, Pete Bakeman. Who else is here? Hi, Jeff Hunter. Jeff Hunter is he's one of the guys that I work with in a grassroots organization in South Carolina. It's called South Carolina Carry, sccarry.org, and you should definitely check them out if you live in the South Carolina area and you want to have, you know, keep up to date with laws and just kind of fight for Second Amendment rights. Raphael asking, what is the app again? It's CCW. CCW, it costs $1.99 to download. It's got a picture of the American flag and the black handgun in front of it. And what's nice about it, again, is compared to other apps, because there are some other ones available, this one shows you what permits your states are honored in, and also tells you all the laws. But I'll show you, let's see, it's this picture right here. Okay, so that's CCW, and you know, I highly recommend it if you travel. All right, who else is here? Yep, everyone's talking about CCW. All right, nice piece, thank you. Rachel's asking, does the ammo need to be in a different check bag? No, it does not. It can be in the check bag, but it does need to be outside of the case of the gun. So just have the ammunition manufacturer box, put it in there, and as long as you don't have over 11 pounds, that's all you need. Jeff Quinney's asking, why do I have a paracord attached to my light? That's because if I was carrying it, Okay, if I was using it, if I needed to, at the same time, drop it, it's still, I don't drop it, it's still attached to my wrist. Okay, so that's why I have it, just for those purposes. And since my gun that I have with me doesn't have a weapon or a flashlight mount, I just want to have a light on it. Okay, Neil's saying I should become a lawyer. You already know more about this area of law than most. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was always my goal to go to law school. Like I said, my major in college, or what I was going for, was pre-law. But it just got to be so hectic with all this other stuff I'm doing that I just had to walk away for now. I'm still planning on going back, but law school just seems like a full-time commitment, where I already have 3 full-time commitments. My primary I'm a full-time firearms instructor, and I teach classes several times a week, and I'm also a freelance writer, and then I've been doing a lot of appearances for companies at shows, and then I've also, I'm involved with, just legislative support in regards to like the DC project, for example. So I just don't have time, but I would love it, but everyone tells me that. All right, yeah, Rachel's saying she wraps it on my wrist. That's correct. Let's see. Oh, Kevin, you missed 10 minutes. Well, if you missed the first 10 minutes, you can always come back and rewatch the video, because it does save after I'm finished. All right, what about knife hands? Yes, I always have knife hands on me. That's JP, and it's funny you said that. Okay, yes, Patrick, you should get that up tonight. Thank you, Joseph, for stopping by. Why would I drop the light? I don't know. I just, for example, well, if I'm running, for example, if I'm running in the dark, or, before or after the sun comes up or down, whatever. If I'm running early morning or late night, I run with a flashlight. And so I might need that hand to help assist draw, especially from my Hill People gear bag. So that's why I would drop the light. All right, yeah, no problem, Jeff. Thank you for shouting out South Carolina Carry. They're an awesome organization. If you are a Second Amendment supporter, one thing you can do is find out if there is an organization, whether it's a grassroots organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be the NRA, but find out what people are doing in your state to further, our support of the Second Amendment. And if you're a gun owner and you're not involved with some type of organization which promotes, which advocates for our rights, you need to be, because there's what's happening right now is people want to take away that right. So we have to take a stance on it, and come together and show everyone that, hey, we're not bad people. Yes, Nicole, the app will also tell you locations where you aren't allowed to carry. If you have other questions about that too, you can also go back to handgunlaw.us's website and click on the state you're going to, and there's a section in there called Prohibited Carry Locations, which, oh, an interesting thing. I'll give you an example of what things might be different. In South Carolina, if I was carrying in a restaurant that's licensed for the on-premises consumption of alcohol, I cannot consume alcohol while carrying. However, in Las Vegas, the statute for carrying in a place where alcohol is served for on-premise consumption says that you can carry as long as your blood alcohol doesn't go above 0.10. So there are a lot of states that have different regulations in regards to allowing a licensed permit holder to be able to carry inside a restaurant where alcohol is served for consumption. Now, I know, alcohol and firearms should not be mixed, but we're talking about a glass of wine, one beer, so I don't know. I think that it's like everything else. There's a responsibility to it. Same thing when driving. You can go have a beer. You're not intoxicated, but you can drive, or if you're obviously above the 0.08 limit, that's the statute for that. So it's regulated in the same sense, I guess. Yeah, probably not, Rachel. You probably cannot do that in New York. Okay. All right. Well, I'm looking at the comments. I'm going to go to my other phone now and see if I can open up the feed to get more comments that may have been left. But otherwise, I hope I gave you guys a lot of useful information. And of course, if I didn't get to anything, leave everything in the comments, and sometime either tonight, probably tomorrow, you know, I will be going back and answering them for you. I think this information is just very important to make sure you're staying with compliance of the laws, you know, because that's the part that, like I said earlier, can get you in trouble. All right, so wow, it's so weird. I'm looking at myself. Anyway, that's funny. Okay. Okay, it looks like I did get to everyone's questions. So, okay, Saeed, when you travel, you lock your ammo and knives in a lockable case. Well, my checked bag is locked. I have a lock on the outside, and they're within my checked bag, but I don't go into a separate case for those specific items. That's just my personal preference. Of course, you can do, you know, if you want to have that extra security, that's completely up to you. But the gun case itself does have to be locked. Okay, so I'm going to give you just give you some information about a couple things I have coming up. On Saturday, this Saturday, June 25th, I will be a guest on Gun Freedom Radio, and that's going to be aired nationally from, or it's a national broadcast is what I should say. And I'm just pulling up the info for you here. It is going to be Saturday, June 25th on 1 p.m. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find her email here. Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to find her email. Okay, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., but that's Pacific Standard Time. So, let's see. Because we're actually pre-recording it. So I should have had this pulled up. It's gunfreedomradio.com, Saturday, June 25th. You can go to the website and listen to it live at 1 p.m. I believe that's Pacific Standard Time. In fact, I know it is. It's 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'll be on. The show is 2 hours, so it's 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So if you want to listen live, you can do that on Saturday. If not, after it broadcasts, it will be posted at the end of the day on Saturday, so you can go back and listen to it. Another thing to kind of plug in tomorrow, I will be I'll be shooting tomorrow actually, and I got invited out to Furious Tactical. That's a training company based here out of Las Vegas, and I'll be going to the range with them and doing some shooting for an hour or two. So I will definitely probably take some pics and try to get some video for you guys. So we're going actually over to Nellis Air Force Base and utilizing their range there, so it's pretty cool. I've actually been to Nellis Air Force Base when I was active duty, but this hasn't been, I want to say this was back in 2000, so it's been 16 years, so I'm looking forward to it. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. And then in a week or two, or July, the first week of July, I will be in DC for the DC project, which I'm sure you've heard me mention before, so I'll probably repost the flyer about that coming up. And I will be speaking at a Second Amendment rally that is going to be on Friday, July 8th at 2 p.m. on the west side of the U.S. Capitol lawn. So if you are in the DC area, please come support me and listen to the other speakers. There's a lot of very well-known, talented women in the firearms industry are going to be speaking. You know, some Olympic shooters, firearms instructors, retired law enforcement officers, competitive shooters. You know, we're all just professionals in the firearms industry. We're all women, so we're going to be speaking there. So definitely come out and support us. And of course, I will be hoping we can get that taped for you guys. I'm sure there's going to be, I think there's going to be some media there. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm not going to front site. No, Jeff Hunter, I'm not. Is that here in Nevada? Well, no, so I'm going with Furious Tactical tomorrow. That's the company if you want to go check them out. They do have a Facebook page, Furious Tactical, and it's cool. I'm actually meeting a guy that I follow. We follow each other here on Facebook. He's from Canada. He's a Canadian firearms instructor. His name's Sean Arntzen. So I'll be meeting him and his girlfriend tomorrow, and we're going over to do some shooting with Furious Tactical. So I'm very excited about that. Anyway, I guess that's about it for now. And I've been on here about 30 minutes or a little over 30 minutes, so I'd like to go ahead and cut it off for now. I'm going to go probably do some sightseeing in Vegas here, maybe drive out to the desert, and and I also, one of my former recruits, here I go, always talking about my former recruits, she's actually here in Las Vegas, so I'm going to link up with her later tonight and possibly have a drink or two. So I'm looking forward to seeing you, Natalie, if you're watching this. All right, so anyway, thanks, guys. Again, if you caught the beginning of this, just wait. It'll refresh on my timeline, and you'll be able to watch the whole thing then. But otherwise, thanks, guys. I appreciate your support, as always. And if I can answer any questions for you about anything I'm doing out here or what I've covered today, or if you want to see something else covered, please just leave it in the comments, or feel free to send me a direct message or an email. So, all right, guys. Take care. Hope you're doing well, and I will speak to you all very soon. Next week, I will be doing another topic. I'll be trying to get caught up because I've got a lot of stuff I'm catching up on from being gone. So I don't specifically know when I'll be doing that, but I think next week I'm going to be talking about holsters to include off-body options, off-body carry. So I'm going to kind of get into the whole on-body carry versus off-body carry, but I'm also going to show you some holsters that I recommend, that I personally use and have, and get into that. So I know that was a kind of highly requested subject to talk about. Okay. Next time, talk about carrying a chambered round. Lawrence, I will talk about that. All right, so I will see you guys. Take care, and I will, I don't know, I love this whole thing. I'm so into it, and I want you guys to know that, I love you guys, okay? All right, thanks, bye.